Hello, folks, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh, as always, the hour of politics, Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Of course, it is the hour of politics, and what you got coming is nothing but politics. The big politics we are talking here today. I have a guest, he's seated, he's comfortable, he can prepare to discuss the issue, but we want to introduce to you the topic for today's discussion, folks. Look, I like this stuff. The topic for today is Mr. Nyuma Boakai, Vice President Nyuma Boakai's path to victory 2023. Does he have a path to victory? Somebody is saying, yes, he does. And that is why we are here. That is why we invited him. And that is all he's going to do today to explain to us whether there's a path, and if there is, how good it is, and how would they make it happen. So your topic, Vice President Nyuma Boakai's 2023 victory path. I will invite my guest. It's nobody else but Mr. Momolu Dukuly Jr. Mr. Dukuly, welcome to the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Sieh. It's good to be on your platform. I've been following you for a while, and I know that you've been doing a good job, and it's very awesome to be here to discuss the issues.
Thank you. And folks, a little about our guest. Mr. Dukuly is the chairperson of COP Minnesota chapter. In addition to that, he is vice chairman for operation, that is the Council of Patriots Diaspora. So that man holds a lot of portfolios, and we must add that he is a supporter of Vice President Nyuma Boakai. Again, Mr. Dukuly, I think you are well suited for the discussion. Welcome again. How you doing? How is the family, and how is Minnesota?
Well, my family is doing great. Minnesota is great. Sitting in my home, very comfortable, warm. We had a bad weather last night, a little bit of snow. It's a little bit chilly out there, but we are warm.
We are warm. We got the heat, but we pay for that heat, right? It's not free though.
It's not free, but let us say we are warm.
That's good. That's good. Well, folks, this topic to discuss it, we will be looking at so many segments. All right, we'll look at the disadvantages that people think that Mr. Boakai has: money, the narrative, and the age factors. We will look at that. But he also has some advantages that we continue to hear about. His name recognition is a plus. Political sympathy, we're going to explain that to you. And then the numbers and the base, he has those things to his advantage. There's something though, a repercussion for leaving the CPP after promising that it will hold. Will the Liberian people punish him for saying it will hold, and now he said, well, bye-bye. Would that be a problem for him? And they are coming up with a solution. They are saying, we are leaving, but we can pour our own collaboration together. So we are asking the possibilities of a future collaboration to be headed by JMB. Would that do it? Well, who is better suited to have to discuss all of this? Well, let's get to it. Mr. Dukuly, for your introduction, there is this thing, some people saying, oh, I don't think Joseph Boakai is running for president. He does not have everything. He does not look like. Start with this. Is Mr. Boakai actually running to be president for the Republic of Liberia?
Oh, yes, most definitely. I can answer that most definitely. Okay. He is going to be on the ballot. And he is running for president of Liberia.
Period.
Okay.
Well, let's start with the disadvantages as we hear about them. One is the issue of money. Let's start with that. Though money cannot win election, but you need money to run an election.
Right.
The question is Mr. Boakai, given what we've seen so far, the headquarters The party had, or the party, it was reported, was evicted. The Unity Party under Mr. Boakai also was in the CPP. It did not pay its dues. That's another one. And we also see friends of Boakai, FOB, raising $1 million for his campaign. These are the things we hear. Looking at all that, is Kennedy Boakai to be able to raise all the funds that will be needed for a successful presidential run?
Well, Mr. C, that's a good question. First all and first most, you should know and understand that no one person can raise that amount of money on their own to run a campaign for election. This is where you have your well wishers, your sympathizer, your supporters. They all come in to raise money and help support that base. So looking at it with the speculations and rumors that is running around that Ambassador Boakai don't have the finance. Well, sometimes people don't understand. They only look at things from the outside.
Yeah.
But they don't look at it closer. Ambassador Boakai do have the mechanism, and that mechanism is at work. Friends, sympathizers, well-wishers, we are doing what we can do in order to support his presidential bid. So yes, he does have the finances that he would need to run his campaign.
But if he has the ability that I'm hearing from you, that he's able to raise money for a campaign cannot be the only important thing to Joseph Boakai. His party got to be important to him, especially having a headquarters, right? And under his leadership, the party could not pay. The guy evicted. Under his leadership, the issue of J. Brownie Samuka, who happened to be the Unity Party's candidate at the time, he needed money to pay to the court or to take his seat. Under Joseph Boakai, the Unity Party could not help its own candidate to raise this money to maintain the CA1. So how is he able now to raise the money when he had not been able to raise money to pay all these things, even talking about the CPP dues? My understanding is that the Unity Party did not pay about $84,000 that issue have paid to the CPP.
Well, Mr. Sieh, if you can retrospect back, I think Mr. Boakai did speak about that. That did not just happen under the Boakai candidacy right now for president. There is many issues that came from the alien-led government into this present movement where we are. So Boakai has spoken to that. He did issue several statement on that, and now the Unity Party do have a new place, a new home that is already paid for. So that I don't think that should be, put on Boakai and categorized as Boakai did not pay for the previous party headquarters when that was a training issue from the alien-led government that came all the way down.
Has that been resolved? Do you know?
Well, I can speak to that. I'm not within the Unity Party, rankings to know whether that have been resolved or not.
And you think that does not have any reflection on his ability to be able to take on responsibilities?
Well, no, I mean, what would that have a reflection? We are not talking about party headquarters here. We are talking about the lives of millions that have been devastated with this era of the president that we have. We're talking about the livability of millions of Liberians that their kids cannot afford. They cannot afford to send their kids to school. They cannot afford to have 3 square meals a day. Those are the bread and butter kitchen table issues that Boakai want to discuss. I mean, discussing about a party headquarters that is not going to put anything on the table to impact the lives of Liberians, I think that is just way below the belt.
Okay. I was just asking that because you say he has the ability to raise money. And so I was just curious if he could not raise money to settle an indebtedness, which was less than, let's say, $1 million, how will he then be able to raise much money for a campaign? But then the issue of the CPP dues that has not been paid, you can blame that on the previous Unity Party administration too, right?
Well, like I said again, I'm not a party insider. To know the full, flesh and bone of the CPP dues.
Okay.
So that I cannot speak to that.
Okay. Thank you. So let's come to the issue of this corruption narrative. Though you are not part of the party, but you supported Mr. Boakai, and that is your interest that he becomes president. So anything that you see that is a potential hurdle for him, you should be concerned about that. So let's talk about this narrative against the Unity Party that Mr. Boakai is to run on, right? That it was corrupt, that it wants to come back to power to carry on the same corruption it did. How will Team Boakai be able to counter this narrative to be able to gain a competitive edge in the political narrative?
I think when you speak to that, got to look at it from different angles.
Okay.
Then once Ellen was in power, many say the Unity Party were corrupt, which I believe there was some corruption, but was it corruption to the mainstream, like what we're having now? Is it corruption over the top of the head of Liberians, what we're having now? If there were corruption, what kind of corruption? I think what we should be looking at here is glooming at the full picture of where we want to take Liberia, and the person that is wanting to take Liberia from where it is and making it into how it's supposed to be. We can all sit in retrospect and say, Boakai was vice president for 12 years under Mana Ede. There was massive corruption, but has Boakai been caught in any one of those corruption? Those should be the questions, and the answers should be given to Liberian people to make them to understand that this man holds a very integral character, have never been caught one day in scandal, have never been found guilty of any such. That alone speaks volume for itself as to why we should trust and choose Joseph Boakai to lead as our next president.
All right. Let us come to this age factor, the age narrative, right? The election that is coming will require a candidate with the needed agility to be able to campaign in what will be a robust, and vigorous campaign. The question is, does Mr. Boakai, the vice president, does he have the agility to withstand the vigor that will be required to tour the country in what may be a month-long campaign?
Mr. Boakai do have the fragility. He do have the capacity to withstand. He has been battle tested before, 2017, and he has been all over again, and he's moving from place to place and telling Liberians, look, I'm fake. You see, Mr. Sieh, when your opponents don't have nothing on you, they try to create all kinds of narrative. Which is, he's too old. When last our age became a factor in our battling politics, right? Let us speak to the issues. The age of Mr. Boakai has nothing to do with his sensibility and his leadership ability. Okay, he's healthy. He's able to lead. So we don't see no problem with that. The only people that see that as a problem is those that have no chances or pathway to beating or winning Mr. Boakai. So they come up with all this age factor thing that has nothing to do or nothing to add to the alien economy in Liberia.
And you think Team Boakai is in any way able to turn this age narrative in his favor, that they can use it to his advantage, given that we have a much younger president now, who from all indications, some people believe he's flat to the ground when it comes to his ability to deliver, to govern?
But again, that is where we come back again, that age does not hold any monopoly over knowledge. Okay, you have a young, energetic man. Everybody thought that could, bring Liberia to where it's supposed to be, but he does not have any ethics. He does not understand ethics. Therefore, he doesn't understand leadership, no vision, no innovation skills. Age does not have factors on anything. What have factors is when you have a vision, when you have an agenda, and you are innovative, and you have that leadership ability. That is what that is required, and Boakai do possess all those characteristics.
And others might be saying, well, let's look at it this way. We are young. We haven't heard any health concern concerning him. And here he is, he's not up to the task. So why would anybody believe that somebody who is well advanced in age will be up to the task? Don't you think that might be reason for other people to say, no, I'm not doing it? It might be too risky.
Well, if those people that are thinking that it's too risky, then I think they don't value their lives, or they don't know what they are standing for, or they don't know what they are living for. Because
Mhm.
looking at the trending issues that have been unfolding from day one of the Weah presidency, I mean, massive corruption,
Mhm.
violation of the laws, the rule of laws, messy education system, name it. And you would sit there and tell me that because of Weah age, it is a gloom that we just sit back and look at it because he's young. And the generation after generation, we sit and receive and accept this impunity of culture that will continue to stab our country to death and put us all the way behind. I think that person should be checking up themselves and looking at themselves and asking themselves questions. I don't think that should be the age shouldn't be a factor in any way.
All right. Well, I use the word agility. It reads the ability to move quickly and easily. The one I want to bring to your attention is to think and understand quickly. When I look at Mr. Boakai,
Right.
I see that most of the happenings in the CPP, right? Those are things coming from others. And he will wait and wait and wait until those people get louder. And then he falls in line. Is he thinking and acting swiftly here?
Yes. Boyka he was thinking and acted swiftly and acted correctly.
Mhm.
Um, if you look at the problem of the CPP,
Mhm.
is not Boyka that caused the problem. The problem of the CPP, Alexander Cummings have shown us how desperate and due to his arrogancy led the CPP into something where we are today, and it cannot be fixed. First and foremost, let's understand what led to the breakaway of the CPP. Alexander Cummings knowing for a fact that going to convention, he did not have the numbers to compete against Ambassador Boycott. So what did they do? However they did, with a framework document, whatever they did, to their advantage, they thought that it was a plus A for them. But come to find out that going and destroying other political parties, buying members from there, using chaos violence here and there, was not helping at all. And
So,
Boycott being one of the oldest in the room, a wise man, on numerous occasions, did call Cummings, did speak to him about it. They tried so many ways to find an internal mechanism to solve problems. But Mr. Alexander Cummings seemed very, very resistful. Did not want to because he thought that his catch could get him to where he want to go. And it became a problem. We all know that. We should not run away from the fact that the CPP problem was caused because of one ego, self-greed, desperately want to be president.
two questions here quickly. You said Mr. Alice Cummings, what's the word that you use? Arrogant. So, talk to me. What is arrogance that you know that Mr. Cummings exhibited? And you say you also know what caused the CPP a problem. What's the CPP problem? What caused the problem?
The problem with the CPP is one person being too egotistic. One person feeling to lay down his ego to allow peace to reign and allow a collaboration because he felt he was the best. And that kind of arrogance, it don't lead you anywhere. All it leads to is destruction.
You,
So
you have not given me the arrogance. What specific did he do that displayed this arrogance you're talking about?
Mr. Sieh not wanting to collaborate with your partners, not wanting to sit in the room and talk about issues,
Mhm.
not wanting to let go. You're bigoted, you're too big, you are so insuspendable that no one dares talk to you. You got to be number one on the ticket. So you display your arrogance above the needs and wants of the Liberian people that you so want to serve.
Is he the only one who has been wanting to be number one on the ticket?
Well, so far, yes, as we see the narrative unfold, yes.
You think Mr. Boakai didn't want to be number one on the ticket?
We all know that Mr. Boakai was and is to be number one on that ticket. But for whatever reason that the framework was led to go into a convention, and Mr. Cummings, knowing for a fact, going to that convention, he will not be the number one on the ticket. And everybody has said this. We go into that convention, whatever comes out, Mr. Cummings can be number two. He did not like the fact of being number two. I got to be number one. In order to help Liberians and to get Liberia to where it should be, I got to be number one, no other than Mr. Cummings.
The thing is, from what I'm hearing from you, that there was some sort of agreement, I don't know from where, that Mr. Boakai needed to be number one. And it's the same thing you are accusing of Mr. Cummings, that he wanted to be number one. So what I'm arriving at is these are two men competing, each wanted to be number one. But you are accusing the other of being desperate, arrogant, feeling title and all that, and the other who shows the same ambition to represent the CPP as not being what you are describing as the other being. How is that fair?
Mr. Sieh, take a walk back. How in the band Cummings doing what he did to the CPP framework? Will we be talking what we're talking today?
Are you sure?
I don't think we'll be talking what we're talking today. I don't think the CPP or Cummings and the ALP will be in such chaos that we are in today. It's all because of that.
So this whole thing is about the allegation of somebody changing CPP framework.
I mean, you may call it allegation, but the facts are glaring there. He admitted to it. He admitted to it in his first post that, yes, the ANC and I did alter the framework. However you alter it, for whatever purpose, did it meet consensus of the other colleagues?
And he came back, he said he meant to say did not. Is that correct?
He came back and did another post and said did not. So you are conflicting yourself here, Mr. Cummings. We cannot take you serious. We cannot trust you. How do you explain to us, I did alter the framework along with the ANC, but then coming back and say, no, I did not?
Okay. Let me progress here. Mr. Boakai got some things to his advantage here, right? Number one is his name recognition. Number two is the sympathy, political sympathy, meaning that the Liberian people chose President Weah over Boakai, and Weah is not doing well. How is Mr. Boakai using his name recognition to his advantage?
Well, he's using it very wisely and very carefully by meeting different stakeholders and sharing ideas of his. And he's also using it to appeal to many Liberians out there and telling them that we didn't make a wrong mistake in 2017. And yet I'm still the person to choose to deliver Liberia. So he's using it effectively to his advantage by meeting a lot of stakeholders. And
who are some of the stakeholders that he's meeting?
Well, for now, names cannot be disclosed. I'm not a Unity Party partisan to go into depth. I can only talk on the surface of what I know and what I'm fair with. So for now, I cannot disclose names, but he has been very effective to that.
At the end of the day, the voters get to decide. Mr. Boakai has a political sympathy in his favor based on my calculation. I'm not sure he's hammering that and making use of that effectively. Very seldom does he speak to the people. Very seldom does he speak on issues. You think that is not a manners?
Well, it's not a manners. Mr. Sieh, at this point in our time, our body politics, Liberians have been resolved and is resolved on the issues of what they want and how they want to move forward. Again, all those things, I don't look at them. What I look at is for us to get out there and continue to propound the message to the people. So Boakai is not sitting and looking at the sympathetic part of him, of people, being in sympathy with him. His duty is he's going to get out there, he's going to spread the message, he's going to keep talking. So I don't want, I don't like to look at those things and say, because they look at me, I've been working for 25 years, so they got sympathy for me. That sympathy can flip in a second. But the main focus here is Boakai is going to continue the messaging. He's going to continue speaking to the people and telling them that he's best suited for the job and ready on day one to deliver those executive orders that will put Liberia back on track and put us back on the world map with dignity.
Mr. Boakai, since his unsuccessful run in 2017, has not been able to tour the country and visit the counties to speak to the Liberian people. I know he went to Nyuma, and I know he went to Grand Bazaar. Those are the two I know. I can't be the one to know everything, but so far that is what I know. You think he has done well in reaching the counties to tell them, hey, I'm still around and I want to be your guy?
Mr. Sieh, Mr. Boakai has been moving around, that and let's just dive back to 2017. He may have lost the presidency, but Mr. Boakai did not lose anything in 2017. He still is Mr. Boakai. He's still feared by the people. His base has expanded from 2017 till now. And why that base has expanded? Because of all these reasons, at least of the wanton corruption, the violation of our laws, the president of the nation not speaking to people, all this ritual killing that is going on. People are seeking answers. They cannot get it. Messy school system, no electricity, no clean running water, security system.
And these are the things Mr. Boakai is not addressing frequently head on. So how is he different from Mr. Weir?
Boakai has spoke on numerous occasions about that. And, Mr. Boakai has said to us time in numbers, when there's a need to speak, we will speak. He's going to get out there pretty soon. Watch and see. He's going to be out there, maybe 2 or 3 press conferences within a month or so. But again, to your question, election and NEC has not declared campaign open yet. So I think Mr. Boakai is very mindful as to how he go about, visiting and speaking about
Mr.
issues.
Boakai is a free man.
Yeah, he's a free man. But
Constitution guarantees that he can go anywhere and travel.
He can go anywhere. It's true. But has NEC declared campaign open?
No, I don't think. I'm not saying he should run campaign. I mean, he can go visit the counties.
Right, he been visiting counties,
except for 2, right?
No. I don't think so, Mr. Sieh. He has visited more than 2 counties.
All right, you talk about the issue of base. What is Boakai base? And you said that he's expanding it. I don't have record of he expanding whatever base he has. Tell me about what his base is and how has he expanded that base.
Mr. Sieh, if you can look, it's there. I mean, we don't have to hustle on it. If you can look of back from 2017, things that Boakai knew that he did wrong, that did not yield him fruit. He have reached out to so many people, age, gender, young, old, name it. You got people everywhere, Europe, Asia, China. They all want to be part of this Boakai fanatic. His base has grown over the time. And we in the diaspora, we can see that, yes, his base has grown over. Even in Liberia, I'm in communication with FOB on the ground. I'm the vice chair for operation. We are expanded in 4 different counties and we are still going. The young people are energized. They want to see change. They are taking upon themselves to do things, bring their own t-shirts, paying dues, making sure they raise that money for us to help sponsor the campaign. So the base has been broader and wider since 2017.
I didn't get the base. You just explained to me things that are happening, even though I don't get to see those things. I'm not saying they are not happening, but what is his base? In politics, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we are told, hold on, we are told Ellen Johnson Sirleaf days having to be the women population then.
I just told you.
So what is his base?
Young, old, women, men, all across. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf base for women, but Boakai here has learned from his mistake in 2017 that I have to expand my base. I'm not only going to be looking at women to be my base. Young women, young men, boys, and everybody.
Does he have a stronghold?
Yes, he does.
Tell me about it.
Well, Boakai stronghold, right now is there are, again, I don't want to go deep into unity party stuff because I'm not a partisan. I'm not part of the ranking file. But looking at it county-wise, from what I have talked to people in Nyuma County, all the boroughs within Nyuma County, Magibi, Bomi, Bon, Bassa, Boakai pathway to the presidency is much more easier than George Weah. Because what do people have articulated to me and us in close those meetings is that they are ready to make that change. They have one thought that Mr. George Weah, who many of them thought could deliver them, has failed. So people all around, from where I have been speaking with them, they are enthused, they are energized, and they are ready.
So the counties that you need, those counties are his strongholds?
Well, I would say, because from my observation, and I tell you with my interaction with them, those counties are solidly Boakai going to the general election.
So let's talk about the numbers. Mr. Boakai did relatively well, but that was not good enough. 400,000 votes, just one county out of the 15. What is he doing? What has he been doing to grow that number? Because that number is insufficient for a presidential victory.
So again, I would talk based on where I stand. And I know the Unity Party got something going of their own, where they are expanding the base and stuff. But from where I stand as FOB, what we have done here, we know that 2017, 400 and approximately 50,000 votes, that's a huge chunk of vote. And we believe that we can get more than that vote. And Boakai has been reaching out and talking to people like us, talking to other organizations, talking to other auxiliary groups that have formed themselves to support Boakai. And we believe with that, we can generate the numbers for the election.
Thank you, folks. If you are just joining us, my name is Ansony Sieh, the host of the Hour of Politics. My guest is Mr. Maurice Momolu Dukuly, Chairman, COP Minnesota Chapter, Vice Chairman for Operation COP Diaspora. And he just told me, Friends of Boakai, he's also, a chairman there. And he is also a supporter of Joseph Nyuma Boakai. Let's talk about this very important aspect, the repercussion for leaving the CPP after promising it will hold. Mr. Boakai is on record for saying the CPP will hold. We're playing our feet so deep that a CPP victory will be the only option. Mr. Boakai is on record for saying, I have the track record of resolving issues. When I get to Monrovia, the internal wranglings in the CPP will be resolved. Mr. Boakai is being credited for being a wise old man, that he has this solomonic kind of, knowledge. Now, he has left the CPP he promised will hold. Do you fear or see any repercussions that may become some sort of hurdle or stumbling block to his chances? Because the CPP became a brand, and when he's not there, that might be a problem. Do you see anything that might hold him back?
what would be Mr. Boakai problem for leaving the CPP or problem for the CPP for Mr. Boakai leaving? First of all, let's take that into consideration. The issue with the CPP and what Boakai intended to do for the CPP, to use his strength, to use his intelligence, to bring calm and peace. But again, when somebody is so egotistic, when one has built up the mind and has kicked to that mindset that regardless of what it is, I'm going to stand on what I'm standing on, and I got to do what is necessary for me, and which that what Cummings did. With everything that unfolded within the CPP, now you tell me, with Belite and Cummings going behind closed doors and forming an MOU, unknown to their colleagues, that Belite should sign an MOU pledging loyalty and support.
Mr. Dukuly, that is not my question.
That's not your question. I mean, I will answer the question.
Boakai left the CPP.
But these are some of the things. These are some of the things that made Mr. Boakai to leave the CPP. How will you sit and somebody is wanting to settle a problem, right? Somebody is willing to bring in peace, but you are still behind closed door doing something else and denying the fact that your colleagues over here wants to settle this thing. But because of you being so greedy and you've been so egotistic, you did not care, Mr. Sieh.
So yeah, hold on, Mr. Dukuly. Here's the thing. You see a problem that Musa Belite from the Liberty Party have been in conversation with Cummings and declare a support for Cummings. But you have no problem with Mr. Ure doing exactly the same, which is just a support for Mr. Boakai.
What did Mr.
Are you fair to the discussion here?
I want to know, what did Mr. Ure do wrong? Now, Mr. Sieh is it. Mr. Cummings got caught up, right? Unknown to himself, got caught up in the mess that Belite was created from the Unity Party. And we all know Belite handwork and framework is to make sure that George Weah is elected for another term because of his own personal reason and his own interest. But Mr. Cummings did not see that coming out full blown. Maybe he saw it coming, but he ignored the fact, and he got caught up in that web. And that web spread around. So I want to know, you tell me, because I don't know what did Mr. Ure do that you are comparing and contrasting what the support from Belite. Is it the same of what Ure is doing with Boakai? What did Mr. Ure do? I didn't see nothing wrong that Mr. Ure did besides flagging out something that was wrong with the CPP framework, and yet and still Boakai trying to use his wisdom.
I'm talking about support, right? I know you're bringing in the politics. Ure supports Mr. Boakai. Belite supports Mr. Cummings, right? You have a problem with Belite's support for Cummings. You have no problem with Mr. Ure's declare and known and open support.
Because Mr. Ure has not shown us any legitimacy act of wrongdoing in supporting Boakai. Belite has shown so many.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then let us talk about, do you think the decision by the Unity Party on Mr. Boakai's watch to leave the CPP was thoroughly processed and taking into consideration that it will succeed with that decision?
Well, unless the court want to play politics with it, unless NEC want to play politics with it. But when you go and look at the Constitution, the organic law, there is nothing that stayed there and there that you cannot leave. You cannot leave A to go to B. Again, unless they want to play politics. But I mean, you and I know there is nothing in there that should stop and will stop because of the politics. And it's the same thing I was talking, the Cummings and Boakai, because it's saying that this thing is not trending the way they want it. So now we got to infuse the dirty water, the dirty politics into it to stop somebody from running as president, to stop them from fielding a candidate in Lofa, unless NEC and the court wants to play in the dirty politics. But if they are independent, there is a blown out case that will be thrown out.
So, Mr. Dukuly, in the CPP framework, somewhere where it talks about withdrawal, it said a party withdrawing from the CPP shall not fee candidate in its name. Some people believe it means that the way Unity Party has left the CPP, Unity Party will be barred from producing a candidate in any election. Is that not true?
Well, let's go back to the totality of the framework. That clause that was insinuated into the framework, was there any consensus? Was it put there by all the political leaders and did it yield to it? So these are the questions here. Again, if NEC and the court want to play politics of it, well, it's back to I'm best known to their own knowledge. But you and myself know, and that's one thing many of these political talk show hosts or advocates need to stop feeling these, untrue rhetorics of this CPP framework thing. When that clause was inserted into the framework, did it make consensus of the other political leaders to agree upon it to say yes? That question is still yet to be answered.
Is the CPP framework that was filed with the NEC that certificated the CPP as a political marriage that the leaders celebrated, that the leaders used to feed candidates in the past by-elections? Is that document legal?
Again, the CPP, and let me say this for the record, Mr. Sieh, the CPP did not take Arizona Cummings to court. It's not the CPP. ALP took Arizona Cummings to court.
I'm talking about the legality.
The legality, that is why I'm coming to tie to it.
Okay.
So the legality of that framework, again, does not and will not hold if the court and NEC does not play politics with it. Because as we go through the case,
I just want a simple answer here. Is the CPP framework that is anchored at NEC legal or illegal?
Well, NEC has not said anything about illegality. I mean, the legalness of the candidates that ran on that framework that is illegal. Was there anything in there that said is illegal? Those that ran on it and won on it, that is illegal. Until NEC can come up to tell us that is illegal, then NEC will do what is
and that is the point, Mr. Dukuly. If we talk about the legality, right?
Until then, you and I don't know the legality. We got to wait for the court or NEC to come up with their own discretion of what they think and what they feel. But you and I can just speculate for now. I can tell you it's not legal. You can tell me it's legal. It's just you and I. So then I'll wait to see what would come out of that from there.
I would think, Mr. Dukuly, that it's legal. And the reason I say that is because the CPP got registered and the CPP fed candidates. I don't think the National Election Commission was proceeding illegally, but registering and certificating an illegal institution and also certificating its candidates. So I believe the CPP constitution with the NEC is legal. Now, that being established, right? And the fact that in that CPP constitution, when one pulls out of the CPP, that one is more like bad from feeding candidates. Don't you think that will stop Mr. Boakai from becoming a possible candidate and the Unity Party from feeding candidates in any election?
Well, Mr. Sieh, I think according to my recollection, somewhere last week, week before last, I think they did go to court on this. I have not read the entire stuff, but I just glanced at it. I think the Unity Party folks came out and said that NEC gave them a pathway that they will field a candidate in Lofa, right? Okay. Again, I don't want to jump ahead of the gun. Whatever NEC decides to do, I'm just asking that NEC hold her independence. And the court hold their independence and make sure that whatever is in front of them, they know it's all politics and it's all to the benefit of one person, that is Mr. Ellis Comey and Musa Belite, in making sure that George Weah get a second term. And that we are not going to take easily.
So the CPP framework document, you remember the first time when it was released, and there was the accusation that, whoa, this thing is illegal because it denies Liberians, the right to be employed, right? And because there was also a constitutional, provision that says something about it, and I'll read it here. That is Article 18. All Liberian citizens shall have equal opportunity for work and employment, regardless of sex, creed, religion, ethnic background, place of origin, or political affiliation. Now, that is the Constitution of Liberia that the CPP, when it released its framework at the time, have violated, because in the CPP framework document, at that time, it said, only known to be considered for employment and appointment in the CPP government, you must be known, active, and visible. It has violated this particular constitutional provision. So that document was pulled, and the CPP made the correction. All right. Now, fast forward, let me bring something again that the Constitution says. Article 25 of the Constitution says, obligation of contract shall be guaranteed by the Republic, and no laws shall be passed which might impair this right. Why am I bringing this to you? The Constitution of the CPP is legal until it can be proven by a court of competent jurisdiction. It remains a legal document binding on those who signed it. They can say they didn't sign it or not, but it is believed that it was filed. They have signed the fair candidates. Because of that, the clause that say when you leave the CPP, you cannot fee a candidate, the Liberian Constitution of 1986 supports any co-filing that will stop the Unity Party and any other party that left the CPP from feeding a candidate. What do you say to that?
Mr. Sieh, it brings me right back to what I said. Mm-hmm. Until then, you and I can speculate, we can say whatever we want to say. Mm-hmm. But again, I look up to the independence of the NEC and the independence of the court to come over with a firm judgment.
So when you say until then, what do you mean?
We will just keep talking about it, round tables, and we don't have answers to it. I may come up with my own judgment and say, you know what? To hell with that. You should feel a candidate in Lofa County regardless of what.
Are you aware that the Unity Party was denied on this very ground?
Again, like I said, I heard something, I think it was on Thursday or Friday when they went to court, but I did not read the whole story of it.
They didn't go to court. They went to the National Election Commission.
Election Commission, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm yet to look at it and see what was the outcome and what happened. I don't have a full detailed insight of the outcome for NEC.
Now, we're talking about the repercussion of the CPP, leaving the CPP.
Right.
And the legal possibility here is because they left the way they left, and given the constitutionality of the CPP framework, specifically for withdrawal, that when you withdraw, you cannot be candidate, it might have a legal hurdle on Mr. Boakai. Now, this is another constitutional clause that talk something about that supports this particular agreement that was signed. Article 17, all persons at all times in an orderly and peaceful manner shall have the right to assemble. Now it continues, right? And to associate fully with others, or mark that keyword, to associate fully, or refuse to associate in political parties. So the key word there is that If you join, you have two options as an individual or
The
as
right
an
to
institution.
associate or the right to refuse.
Fine. To go there to associate or not to. It didn't say in. Mark it. So you have to choose one. So the United Party has decided that it will exercise its right to associate by joining the CPP, and it did.
Right. And after she came back and said, well, I exercise my right not to associate, right?
So when you come back to say, well, I want to exercise my right not to associate, that means you are doing two. It didn't say and, it said or. So the only way the United Party can leave except there is a unanimous agreement or a court ruling in its favor to leave. Until then, Article 25 says any contract that you sign will be binding and no other law shall be passed to impair that.
Again.
That is a major legal hurdle. Don't you think this withdrawal will harm the Unity Party and Kennedy Boakai?
Again, I put a pause on that because I cannot tell you whether it's going to handle us or not.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave that to the court.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let the expert. I know the lawyers are working on that.
Mm-hmm.
There are experts working on that. We'll leave that to the expert and the law and NEC to come up with that determination, because you and I can speak to it. I can give you my view. You can give me your view. It's just our perspective view, broader perspective view. So I would like to leave that to the expert and NEC and the court, and let's see the outcome. But I know they would do what is in the best interest of the Unity Party in Liberia.
Thank you. And let us speak further to this idea of leaving. The Unity Party is the biggest party, the most experienced party. Mm-hmm. And it decides to leave when it's aware of this clause in the CPP, and it has to leave in this manner, and it just wrote a letter that we are leaving. What does that say about the Unity Party under Joseph Boakai? You just said, hey, we are leaving. And that is not even in line with the steps set forth in the CPP or framework document for leaving the CPP.
Well, Mr. Sieh, I think before Unity Party came out with that letter, in writing it and coming out to say it to the public, I'm sure they had consulted the expert on laws, and they gave them their own side of it. Go ahead and do it. From that point, I don't think what the Unity Party did, they were in the wrong, because I'm sure they did contact the lawyers and all the experts, all the legal advice before they did what they could do by leaving the CPP.
Are you sure of that? And so are you suggesting that they may not have, or they are not in error at all?
That's what I'm telling you. Before I come out to make such a statement as an entity, I should consult my lawyers. I should consult experts on that particular issues, and they will give me their own advice, and they'll give me all the legal tools that I need to go and do what I can do. I'm sure the Unity Party did just like that.
So this is Mr. Boakai, the wise man in the room, who could not provide leadership. You have Ure, you have Cummings, and he's the most experienced man. And luckily for them, they're just two-person, Cummings and Mr. Boakai.
Right.
And the elderly state man could not see that my chances are much more secure if this promise of a CPP brand holds as I have promised and as many of us have promised. He walked away from it and he could not resolve it. You think he has the ability to resolve national conflicts?
He does have the ability. And let me say this, Mr. Boakai did not come into any political entity or any institution to declare himself as a saint or a perfect man. Knowing what he knows and knowing what he does best, and trying to use his intelligence, wisdom to settle matters that he have done in the past. Now, it boils back to the same thing. If one person sees it that his ego and his ambition is way above all others, and not wanting to sit and talk about issues, I mean, what do you expect somebody to do, Mr. Sieh? Put yourself in that shoes.
So
You,
the easy answer is to walk away.
Mr. Boakai have used all other method of bringing this thing to us to a halt.
For example,
Yet he had called on so many occasions. The records are there on Mr. Cummings and the others for them to sit and have a dialogue. He have talked to Cummings himself, and there are other stakeholders that reach out. But when the child, it's almost like the child, when the child wants to defy the parents and say, regardless of what, I will get the latches, I don't care. I got to do this thing to my satisfaction. There's an end result there for me. I got to see that end result. What do you expect Mr. Boakai to do?
Mr. Dukuly.
Mr. Boakai did not walk away. He did not run away from solving a problem. Or a problem that cannot be solved because of one egotisticness, one greed, and self-interest makes it hard for anybody to work with you, Mr. Sieh.
Mr. Dukuly, I'm sure you follow the Liberian conflict.
Right.
There were once peace talk after the other. Yamoussoukro, Abuja, Banjul, and you name the rest. All right. There were so many interventions from different regional bodies, ECOWAS, ECOMON, United Nations, and they felt that Liberia needed peace, and that was the bigger picture. They didn't give up. Boakai has been an experienced man. Elections is 17 months away now. He took over less than 1 month. He gave up. Do you not see that as a problem? And he wants to be president for 6 years. He will be confronted with these issues. Is that how you're going to treat the problems of Liberia? Walk away?
Mr. Boakai did not walk away. He did not give up. Mr. Sieh, we come back again. You're using the Akasumo peace talk. I'm aware of all the peace talk in Akasumo. The thing is, when somebody is wanting and willing to resolve a problem, there will be no issues for that person to sit on the table. But if somebody have the mindset of their own, and that mindset is what the person believes, there's nothing else you can do. There's not Akasumo, there's now a war zone we're in where they need to bring a stop to this war. This is something that this person was the one that initiated it. And after the initiation, he held on to it to say, this is my weapon, this is my tools, I will use it to my own detriment to make sure I get what I want. Boakai, in every way, every instant, made his best appeal so as others leaders within the CPP to bring this madness to an end because of one person be so egotistic, one person be so delusional and not wanting it to happen. Somebody saying the benefit of their own greed, they did not want it to happen. So
Mr. Boakai wants to be
Boakai that we know, have worked in public sector for 25 years. Everywhere he led with integrity. His character, his morals, his values all speaks for him. There he settled problems over problems. So the CPP issue was not that Boakai, people making it to seem like Boakai could not handle it. He did what he could do in his best. Other people need to pick up the tab from there and hold themselves responsible, then other than holding Mr. Boakai responsible for other people negligent.
You continue to use the word egotistic and all that. And the main reason you are saying that, from what I'm getting from you, is that Mr. Cummings wants to be the head of a CPP ticket. And he's now willing to say, I want to go number 2. And because of that, he's egotistic. Mr. Boakai too is doing the same thing and saying, look, I am the most experienced, so I must be. They are all doing the same thing. Boakai is saying, I'm going to be number one. Coming is saying, I want to be number one, or I must be number one.
And Mr. Spear, let me just
So how can Boakai not be egotistic for the same thing for which you say Cummings is egotistic?
When I mean Comey being egotistical, I'm not saying that Boakai don't want to be president. I'm saying the fact that Comey knew that they were going to go to convention or whatever the CPP framework was going to detail for them to go and pick a standard bearer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comey knowing very well that his chances of getting there was very slim. So what do? Using cash violence, going to people's offices, buying people, using money, going to people, political parties, taking other people from there, using money, and conflicting stuff. We are in a collaboration. Now, come on, Mr. C. We are in a collaboration. We should be working together. We should be bringing people from outside. But here is it. This guy is going in-house and causing commotion, confusion, by using chaos violence in buying people over and causing chaos.
I don't know what chaos, but let me leave the chaos thing because when I spend time on it, we won't go anywhere. You said
That's a fact.
You said this is not a war affair. It's not like when we had a civil war, we have to go to all these peace talks. This is different. So let's talk about how different this is. And I agree, this is different, right? The easiest solution to this was a primary, saying they could not agree to a consensus where one would say, I will go number one, you go number two, right? So it became clear that a primary will decide this. Mr. Boakai, the experience from the most sophisticated and biggest party in Liberia, the Unity Party, why he can't beat this guy in the primary and just close this case?
Did Mr. Boakai ever tell anybody that he couldn't beat Cummings in the primary? No, absolutely no.
So it's not later. Don't you think Mr. Boakai should stay in the CPP and go to the primaries and beat this Cummings guy?
On what grounds are you going to go to the primaries when there are cracks all over the wall? You can see the leakage of the water, the pipe are all busted. Is Mr. Cummings waiting to put down and let down his own guy and say, look, and admit that I did wrong? We can foster. Let me accept my wrongdoing, my side of the bargain, and appeal and tell the Liberian people sorry. There was a there and there, yeah.
So that's a solution. Mr. Cummings can be prostrate himself on the ground. Oh, I'm sorry. And then the primary will be held.
Mr. Sieh, if you did something wrong and the Liberian people are looking up to you people and the people know and you know very well that there is something wrong that you did, can you man up enough to tell the people what I did was wrong, what happened? I thought I was doing it in the best interest of all of us, but I didn't know we were going to turn up like this. I think I'm going to accept responsibility because then I was the chairman. What happened under my watch, I should be accepting responsibility for us to move on.
My question again. So by your standard, Mr. Cummings, he prostrates himself on the ground. He even grabs some, arches from the fire hard,
on the ground.
And say, I'm sorry, I did all the bad things. You people forgive me. Let go to the primaries. Mr. Boakai and Unity Party will be in the primaries?
If that had happened then, we will be saying a different thing. But for me, from where things are, absolutely, I think it's very lit. Absolutely. When will you go back to melt up, melt up the chaos you are caused? Your base, both bases have that toxic feeling among them. So I mean, for now, I think it's lit.
All right. Let us talk about the possibilities, right? The possibilities of future collaboration to be headed by JMB. So it is open secret now. According to them, they have left. And we also hearing that they are banned the coalition. You supporting him. Is it true the bailing a coalition?
Well, they have been talking with stakeholders in building a coalition. That is, the talks are going on well. And when that coalition is all said and done, when it comes up to the public, everybody will know their standing. Everybody will know where they stand to gain from there. And there will be one understanding with who will be the head and who will be the vice.
So this coalition, the billing, who's going to be the head?
Well, again, I cannot speak. I cannot go into depth to that. It's still early. It's in formation.
Mm-hmm.
When they get there, you are going to know. But for now, yes, I can tell you, Boakai is in talk with a lot of stakeholders
Mm-hmm.
in forming a coalition.
And what happens if it becomes unlikely for Mr. Boakai to be the head of that coalition? Is he going to leave again?
Well, for a fact, I can tell you nothing is going to happen because all those people are the same like minds, like Boycott, have the same ideology, and they all believe with that vision of better Liberia. So
Boakai can only be in a coalition or a collaboration that will see him as the head, right?
Mr. Sieh, put on a scale now, who is the most popular, the most eloquent, and strong candidate of Big George Weah? It's Boycott. It's Boycott.
So Liberian people will be looking at eloquent.
There are so many things Liberian people are looking at, but I'm telling you, you and myself, who is the most? It's Boycott.
All right. So why if that collaboration fails?
Well, I'm not putting what if because I know with what they are doing and the stakeholders that are partaking in it, it's not going to fail.
Folks in cyberspace, focus on Liberia. Morris Momolu Dukuly Jr., Minnesota chapter of COP's chairman, vice president for operations COP diaspora, stone supporter of GMB. He is my guest, and we are discussing Joseph Nyuma Boakai's path to victory. He said he will raise the money he will need to run. He said he has the name recognition, he has a base, and he's going to reach them to the promised land. But looking at the repercussion that may be coming back at him to bite him, he might be getting in some trouble. But he's saying, except the court or the National Election Commission play politics, he doesn't see anything that can stop this almighty Boakai from reaching the political promised land. Will that happen? The players will be vicious. He's accusing Cummings of using all the money. So the money thing works. So if Cummings can use money to infiltrate all the parties, as he said, entering people's offices with money, and Boakai runs away, you think Cummings and Weah can make Boakai to run away from this campaign, this election? I'm just asking, because you said the man have to leave because the man using money. He still has that money. We are to got more money. We'll come, Mr. Boakai not run again. We will take a short break. When we come back, we will read comments, and then we will be thinking about what next to do. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Dennis Jah, thank you. Ansony Sieh, Focus on Liberia, the hour of politics, where I always said and don't make people happy. People need to know my job is not to make you happy. My job is to make you to think things in a much more different way. And so some of you might get used to it. Some people are even having problem with the title of my show. I did it intentionally and I will not stop. I don't know what you're going to do about that.
Let me say one thing here, Mr. Sieh. I think
Okay,
people need to understand where you stand from as a journalist coming up. And one of your fundamental path here is not to get involved deeply into supporting a candidate or supporting a side, because as a candidate, you want to be as neutral as what you can be, so that people can see that light in you when you are attacking the core values of a candidate. You're not doing that because you hate the candidate, but you want to see if this candidate is ready on day one to deliver. You want to see if this candidate have the mechanism to do the work of the Liberian people. So I know a lot of people think that you are an ANC person, something I laugh. At first I thought you were, but then when I got to follow you and study you and know the kind of person you are, you're just somebody that love to dig down to the core and get the both sides analysis so you can do your own analysis. But over time, people will get used to that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I think I respect your opinion there. All right, folks, let us read some of your comments here quickly. This one is from Mariah Yakula. She writes, I don't listen or waste my time anymore, sis. Ansony Sieh can do a show titled How Cummings Destroy His Pathway to the Presidency, but then do a show about JMB path to the presidency. That JMB path in Destroy, Yakula, are they a show titled How JMB Destroy His Path to the Presidency? It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. Go and watch it. And sometimes you need to look around before you speak. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with my topic.
Not at all.
Right? And you people want to support politicians and be in these parties, you don't have the skin and you don't have the stomach to listen to critique and tough questionings and tough analysis. Get out of the kitchen. All right? So Yakula, that is for you. Let's hear from Aton. You are absolutely wasting your precious time. I think he said previous, I meant to say precious time behind criminals' comments. I don't know who that person is talking to. Let's hear from Mr. Carter Jr. Unity Party think the rest of us should carry Bofra to beauty pageant contest. Goodness gracious, that person writes. Lots of comments. Let's hear from Mr. Jackson. Cummings stands a better chance than JMB. He has nothing to be tested yet in government. Let's hear from Mervyn the Shield. Every day we are being misled by these unpredictable party spokesmen. They can't be trusted. The case before the court is an example of the mindset of these politicians. I prefer an independent candidate with the mindset to make a difference. Greedy hunters are the ones who are making a case to lead. That person is being tough there. Let's hear from Wane Boto. Is that the most powerful Wane Boto we heard about? Is that the only thing your JMB has for the Liberians in his name recognition? The time he stays in office? What is his present legacy? I am not in any party, but a concerned Liberian. That person.
Buto should be asking herself how much bill she has sponsored on the floor to change the life of Liberians. Yeah, that
they hear from Cisco, the Herring Costa board. They are planning to destroy the CPP.
And then Herring Costa comes into it.
So this one is from Okula S. Johnson. Cummings' day of reckoning are done, Mr. Sieh. He damaged his political career by being too corny. That person writes. Lots of comments. Let me go to more of them here. If Unity Party historical administration is written well, VP Boakai did not serve that position efficiently, and when dealing with mediation and effective economic growth, I remember during second campaign of Ellen administration, VP Boakai could not resolve the conflict between the Unity Party chairman leadership within the USA. It was Vanny Sherman that controlled and overruled his decision between Famula and Green for the chairmanship of the US. when it comes to the living standard of the Liberian people, that is a long one, and Facebook said it's too long, so they did not show that one. They hear from Nelly Sally Service. OP has to resolve CPP in court and at NEC before they can go to another framework. Nonsense. JMB will not run due to the law is in this. I don't know how, it's not too clear there. All right, let's hear from Johnson here again. No one rely on comments, Janitor. We saw comment jumping into Liberty Party, something that he should have tried to resolve between two members that had problems, promising to sign an MOU undercover, which later came to light, coupled with some other legal doings. That person, right? Let me hear from page here. Mariah Kula, Morris, Momolu Dukuly Jr. say Alexander Cummings should apologize to the Liberian people and accept the FA was uttered. Wonder shall never end. Whom that person writes. Let's hear from Caesar. Let's hear from Frank here. What did ABC do wrong? Which bully has proven that ABC did something wrong? This one for you, yeah, Mr. Dukuly, who gave the Unity Party the sole authority to decide who becomes the standard bearer of the CPP. What happened to going for a primary? Lots of comments. I'll give you the opportunity to respond.
First of all, let me respond to this guy over here. Unity Party did not stop anybody from going to the primary. Neither did they question anybody legitimacy of contesting into the primary. Our primary did not work because of what unfolded, and we all know what unfolded. And there was somebody that asked a question about who has proven Cummings guilty or charged with the framework. Well, as you all know, the lawyers went and did the findings, and the lawyer presented the findings, and bench chair at the time, Miss Senator Yomli Kanga, did come out and read what the lawyer's finding was and said that there was a there that Cummings should take responsibility. But here's the thing, the lawyer, I think from my side, looking at it, Mr. C, the lawyer did not want to dive into implicate herself within the in-house wrangling. That is why the lawyer could not come out to say, we found Cummings guilty or we found Cummings reliable for all the errors that they claimed, the cosmetic changes, that they claimed, right? So, Ms. Eloise Page, Cummings know what he did. We all know what happened. There is no need to go around this thing, beating around the bush. It's better for somebody to own up to their mistakes in life and do the needful. That's it.
All right, folks. This is how we will come to the end of this broadcast. Thanks for coming and participating and with your many, many comments. We appreciate that. Mr. Dukuly, 2023 is just next year.
Right.
Mr. Boakai is running. The CPP brand has been brought to question. Of late, the United Party wrote a letter to the CPP, they say is dissolved, asking the CPP to remove its logo, the Unity Party logo, from the CPP logo. Interesting letter, right?
Interesting letter. Like I said, Mr. Sieh, you and I may not know the ramification as to the experts, the lawyers. So when things like that come up, you know that they have gotten advice from the legal experts. Nobody would just get up and do something like that on his own or her own. So I'm sure the legal expert has told them it's necessary. Go ahead and do it. Again, we await what the NEC and the court is going to do.
So in a scenario where the CPP produces its candidate, and because legally speaking, the United Party did not leave the CPP, there's no legal process that defines that. And if the United Party out of a sudden will be in a race with its logo, and then the CPP in a race with a logo, part of the CPP logo. Don't you think that might undermine Boakai's chances here?
Well, I'm not going to jump too quick into that. Again, I think it's too early now. We got to wait and see what this whole court process is going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a definitive way of approaching this issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all just have to wait and let it go. I mean, I can give you my view on it. The public might give their view on it. By the end of the day, it's in the hand of the experts. So we see what it entails. But I show there are lawyers from the Unity Party side that is working hard every day and making sure that this thing goes the way they want it.
The issue of conflict, don't you see that the way is more than likely the Unity Party might not be able to feed a candidate, especially in the case where it is bad from feeding a candidate because it left the CPP, and based on the 1986 Constitution and the CPP own framework, it cannot feed a candidate. Do you now foresee a split in the Unity Party where members will say, well, we don't want to lose completely, we'll go back to the CPP, all right, so that we can be part of a possible CPP government, and then Boakai would be left alone? Don't you think that might be a reason for him to lose again?
You know, like I always say, I want to refrain from that party politics. But what is unfolding right now within the UP, I think people are getting carried away by sentiments because certain group is yielding to one person and still thinking that person is the phenomenal and formidable force of the Unity Party, which is Ellen. And coming to that is what I was just talking about in our previous segment when we had the politics that is playing is very dangerous, and everybody has to be mindful of the politics that is playing. Okay, again, I would like to leave that to the court. I don't want to dive in too much to the Unity Party affair because I don't know much about it.
Okay,
but I know is what I can see is that everybody is just playing to the detriment of their own advertising.
But one thing you know, though, you know one woman called Ellen who represent everything Unity Party.
Right.
She got her loyalists,
of course,
the fan of the world, the armorer of the world, and many who I don't know. They are quiet. I don't see them involved with Boakai. If they, maybe they're howling in the back, I don't know. But the fact that they are not even showing their face is enough reason to think that they are not with Boakai. Because why believe in a man and hire face in the first place? What I'm saying is Ellen is not on board. Unity Party is divided because she remains a member of the Unity Party, right? And now she's not on with Boakai. Unity Party is divided. Boakai stands a chance to lose, isn't it?
Well, I would not say, I cannot take your word for that he stands a chance to lose. Until then, I'll wait to see. But I think former vice president is very solid. He's standing very firm. And we know how we are going into this.
Do you not see a divided Unity Party? Do you not see that?
I do see wrangling within the Unity Party for people own self-interest. Again, it comes right back to that. I do see that.
And but you think that is not significant to cause problem?
We are not going to get deterred by those people. We are going to keep on the focus, keep the focus on and going. What we look forward to is what we have at stake. We go to NEC, we go to the courts, let them decide or let them tell us what it is, and we move forward. But with those guys and the Ellen, I'm not concerned about them because...
Can Boakai win without Ellen Johnson Sirleaf support and those who also believe in her support?
Of course. Definitely.
How? Because the first time he did not have, hold on, the first time he did not have Ellen's support, we saw how it ended. This might be a repeat.
Well, the first time he did not have Ellen's support because the first time there were a lot of mechanisms that he did not put into place that he himself realized it. We did talk about it, he and I, and now he has bounced back. He knows what was done wrong and where they fell short, and no mechanism has been put into place, and they are gearing up. So Ellen is not the electorate. Ellen is not a voter. Okay, Ellen can play her cards wherever way she want to play it. We are here to speak to the minds of the Liberian people and tell them what we have at stake, what Ambassador Boakai wants to do to put Liberia back on the map as a dignified country, to cut this impunity of culture, to cut wasteful spending and apply it to the rehabilitation of roads, buildings of schools, and healthcare sector. That's what we want to. So Ellen right now is not our focus. Wherever
you are saying Ellen can play her card whatever way she wants.
Mr. Sieh,
you think you want to make that statement? You think that statement is just any statement that you can make? If your goal is to get you that elected,
dignify hypocrisy. I'm not here to dignify. Look, Mr. Sieh, I cannot be for you, and on the other hand, I'm shying away for it because of my own self-personal gain. I don't play the kind of a games.
What would you advise Mr. Boakai if you were given that opportunity on this Unity Party conflict, especially the Ellen factor and the Ellen wing or supporters factor or loyalist factor? What would you advise him?
Mr. Sieh, Mr. Boakai has tried his best. He is trying his best to still bring everybody together. Again, Mr. Sieh, like I said, if one don't want to be bothered, if one has made up their mind and say, look, regardless of what, I pledge loyalty to this person. Because of this person, I don't want to go that way. There is nothing you can change about it. But folks have told Mr. Boakai, I have told him to continue the negotiation, continue talking to them. He's not going to give up. We will continue doing it until 2023 comes and goes. But what I can assure you and what I can say, we are not going to get deterred by that. We are not going to get knocked down by that, because that's cynical politics. We are not going to dive into it. We're not going to play into it.
My sources are telling me that there is a mass resignation that is imminent in the Unity Party, and that in fact some have already happened. Should Boakai worry that he might not reach the promised land again with these mass resignation that are so imminent based on our sources, and that chaos is coming his way?
Boakai's worry is Liberia and how to get Liberia going. Boakai warrior is not on one person resigning from the Unity Party. That has nothing to contribute and attribute to the lives or the well-being of the Liberians. So, I mean, those things are just distraction. We are not going to be affected by that.
All right. Well, let us get to your closing statement, and we want to say thank you also very much for coming here and making the case and answering the tough questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sieh. I love to be here. You know, today is my first time. The atmosphere is very friendly, very nice. I wish to be back. But I would say this to all Liberians. This is not a time for you to sit back and look at what somebody will not do or somebody will do. This is a time for you to retrospect on your future. This is a time for you to take up matters into your hands. We have too long been living in a state of complicity. We have been too complicit. We don't need to step back. We got work to do. All the auxiliary groups, all the auxiliary arms, we are calling on everybody to get up, man up, and do what is right for Liberia. Go out, do the mobilization, do the fundraising for us to get Ambassador Joseph Nyuma Boakai elected, because we believe and trust his ability, and we believe he can deliver Liberia. And I'm also calling on all meaningful Liberians to exercise restraint as we unfold and enter the election year. There will be a lot of chaos. There will be a lot of things going on. Let us not burn our house, like the ambassador said, because of mosquitoes. The temptation will be too high. Let us exercise restraint. May God bless Liberia, and may God bless the people of Liberia. Mr. Sieh, I want to tell you thank you. I hope to be back here again to talk on the COP next time and where we are going.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. And folks, this is how I close it. His name is Joseph Nyuma Boakai. 2017, he contested on the Unity Party's ticket. He did not reach the promised land for many reasons. He did not get the unanimous backing of the opposition. He did not even get the unanimous backing of the very political party on whose ticket he ran. More so, he had money issues. Also, he picked a vice president who didn't have any political clout. Those things hurt him. More so, there was this narrative against his political party, the Unity Party, that it was corrupt and that it wanted to come back. And so he did not win. He won only one of the 15, even though he netted over 400,000 votes. Will this be a repeat, given what we see so far? He was in the CPP. He has left, again, not getting the unanimous blessing of the opposition. Is he repeating the same mistake he made in 2017? He's good with parables. For example, you cannot burn a horse down because of a mosquito. Well, I believe the CPP was the house. And forgive me for this analogy, folks. They accused Mr. Cummings of being the guy who authored the framework document. So I would say Mr. Cummings might be the mosquito here. But what did he do? He's burning down the whole house of CPP. They are leaving. They are saying it does not exist. His son, Josh Lobo, my good friend and GM brother, he said, the CPP is our chicken or our rooster. We will kill it when we are ready for it. And according to him, they have killed it. Costa said, let us leave. And they are leaving. I told you he's good with parables. He said, when you are going on the farm, paraphrasing here, and you see the river is overflowing, to stop you, you can make a U-turn and use a different route. But the question is, are you sure of that route? At least you've been traveling on this particular river, crossing this little bridge, and you're going to walk by because there's a little, because the river is overflowing. Can you not find a way, a canoe or something to cross? He said, no, I'm not going to do that. He walks away. Now he's forming another coalition. When the river gets flooded again, what will he do? Will he walk back? How can you just keep walking back when you have the track records of saying, I can resolve issues? Will he resolve the issues he having? The issue of money, the issue of political narrative, and corruption against the Unity Party. Will he resolve all these issues? My records tell me there's a big question mark to that. But his name is Uncle Joe. He enjoys a political sympathy. He enjoys a political name recognition. How he capitalizes on these variables that are to his advantage may be of little help. But would that help be enough? I don't know. I will know when that time comes, and that time is 2023. I will tell you, and you will know. As for Cummings, is he trying to resurrect? Will he survive? Will he leave the court? Will he build the CPP? And will he become the political savior of Liberia? Also, I don't know. That's the interesting thing called times. That time, sorry, it will tell. Of course, that interesting thing called time will tell. That time will tell us who will be president. That time will tell us who will fail. That time will tell who will concede defeat and who will reach the promised land. I don't want to go to that promised land. I don't belong there. I belong in making this trouble and asking these guys questions. So I will be right here. Whoever wins will face me. Oh, they will not face me. Oh, no, they will face me. And I will face them too. Because we have this thing called Liberia, we have to protect it in our own individual ways. I have to leave. My guest is cracking up. He's laughing, maybe enjoying my little sermon that I'm preaching here that is meaningless to most people because they are angry with me, but they love me anyway. I have to go and push my cartoon. Morris, I'm sure your cartoon is waiting for you.
It is, it is.
All Liberians is the song that is taking us home. Folks, until I catch you again, my name is Ansony Sieh. You can call me the troublemaker if you want. That song, We Are All Liberians, is taking us home. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.